Welcome to In the Trenches with Chris.
And Chris.
And we are in the trenches today. We're getting down and dirty.
It's my trench voice.
That was...
I like it.
I did.
Tough. Okay.
I did. It reminded me of somebody who was in the trenches.
Just rolling down cigarettes on Bible papers. I got my helmet up on my M16.
I love it.
Yeah.
A little bit about us. This is our first podcast. We're hoping to kind of do something with this, make it go somewhere. So right off the top of the hour, we're going to ask you, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Let's we want to get to know you, and we want to tell you guys a little bit about ourselves as well. Yeah. We are in Washington, the beautiful state of Washington, and it's not like that filthy state Oregon.
Right off the bat, yeah.
Right off the bat.
Here it comes again. Shots fired, Oregon. Watch out.
I'm taking aim, and I got Oregon in my sights.
Yeah, I think it's just certain parts of Oregon, maybe good or bad. I mean, have you been to the Oregon coast before?
Seaside.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's right in there.
It was awesome. Yeah. I had a great time.
Yeah, Seaside's cool. I'm pretty sure I've stayed there close by before. Yeah.
Well, I am from here, and I've lived in Washington my whole life.
As have I.
Him as well. I met Chris here. This is one of the greatest guys in the world. I met him when I got invited to a party that was when you and G-Dub were living behind Circle K in Marysville.
Good times.
Great times. Yeah. We actually were almost going to get in a fight, and what happened was it was over a Leonard Skinner song. And
what song? It probably doesn't really matter with GW, but which one do you remember?
Oh my gosh, was it was it Sweet Home? Did they sing Sweet Home? Yeah, Sweet Home Alabama. The point was I was like, oh, this band is awful and whatever, and so we went out back and we were so drunk. Instead of fighting, we ended up just smoking a bunch of cigarettes and drinking a bunch of whiskey.
Falling into each other's arms at the end of the night.
Oh man, it was lovely. Yeah. It was starry eyes. It's a clear night out.
Happy as a gentleman.
Man, that's kind of almost the same time that I met you, because you were there as well.
Yep. Fresh out of there, right?
Right.
Moved with my brother in Marysville into a townhouse. And eventually got pretty destroyed. Kept it decent for a while though. Man. Yeah, we've been friends ever since then. I mean, a lot has happened. I don't even know. How many years has that been? 15 years maybe?
Yeah, I can't even think back. Too many partying and drinking days. Actually, my most fondest memory of you guys living in a place was the Marysville house. The two-story.
Yeah, Delta house. Yeah.
With the he had an angry dog.
Cujo. Dude, Cujo's awesome.
He was so loyal.
Yeah.
So loyal. Hated my guts.
Yeah, he was a tiny little rat terrier. White, and he was full of piss and vinegar. He had some issues, but yeah.
Didn't he live to be like 23 or something?
And he was over 22. I was actually a little bit mad at my mom. He was living down with her in Oregon.
Okay.
So we were at the time, and he met somebody, like a mailman, postal person or something, and she had to put down.
Oh man.
After, I wanted to see how long that dog would live. He was just going on pure, just like rage and spite and anger.
That dog lived and breathed hate.
Yeah.
It was the spawn of Satan. I don't use that term loosely.
Yeah. No, he was fearsome for a dog that was maybe like a foot long.
It really was
like a little rat terrier. I mean, little guy, but
worst encounter with that dog is and where we had a moment where it tore my eyelid open.
I remember that. That was disgusting.
And I didn't want to go to the hospital. No. So you put a butterfly band-aid and cleaned it with alcohol or something.
Probably rubbing alcohol or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was
Listerine.
It healed up. Yeah. Except now one of my eyes is smaller than the other one. And it's a true story here.
A little bit too tight.
True story. So I go to the eye doctor to get my eyes checked, and this eye doctor He goes, oh my gosh, you need to go to the UW or a clinic like right now. And I'm like, okay, why? What's going on? And she goes, well, this pupil over here or whatever is larger than the one over here, which can indicate sometimes, I suppose, a brain tumor.
Yeah. Oh,
a tumor,
okay.
brain tumor. So I start freaking out, being a hypochondriac, and I go to the closest clinic I can find, and they fit me in, and they're like, have you had any trauma to that eye? And I'm freaking out, my heart's pounding, then I stop, and I go, actually I have. A dog, ripped my eyelid open. So, and they go, yeah, you look normal other than that. And plus, that was years ago, so I figured I'd be dead by now if it was a tumor.
Dude, if you had a tumor, you'd you'd be dead or you'd have something like phenomenon powers or something.
Oh, man.
Comfortable, your sunglasses spin on your hand and stuff.
So here's a question, now that you brought that up. Question for you viewers as well. Favorite hero? DC, Marvel, doesn't matter. Favorite superhero? Or it doesn't have to be a superhero, it can just be a hero.
You might not like mine.
Wait, I think I know who yours is.
Oh,
yeah. Ooh. You know what's funny? Before we even say this, we didn't pre-plan this or anything.
No.
But I have a feeling both of our favorite heroes are anti-heroes.
Yeah. Actually, I think I know yours.
See? It was not
it
just took a little bit of thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Deadpool would probably lose in a fight to the Punisher, but he would be a lot funnier doing it.
I think the Punisher's mine, Deadpool's yours, is effectively what we're saying. There's actually, it was either on YouTube I saw it or it was somewhere, there's actually a Punisher versus Deadpool.
Really?
And before Punisher puts an end to Deadpool, he realizes that Deadpool's not that awful of a person. That he's kind of a good guy.
It's a little bit crazy.
Maybe it's not Deadpool I have an issue with. Maybe it's Ryan Reynolds.
He is a cheeky bastard.
Dude, how are you going to go from Deadpool to Pikachu?
Oh, God. Dude, I'm going to have to watch that movie. Oh. My oldest loves Pokemon.
Dude, I could have swore when I was younger, I could have swore that Pokemon was going to be something that was completely not popular anymore.
Or popular for 5 years and then gone.
I hated Pokemon so much, I tried to make Digimon popular. I was like, Digimon. I never collected cards, I never did that crap. I was actually kind of a jerk. I remember throwing kids' cards in school. Kind of a jerk. Totally stupid in middle school.
It's like me at Power Rangers, dude. I was all about the VR Troopers. Yeah. No, Power Troopers. I hated the Power Rangers.
You hated the Power Rangers? Dude, I remember sitting on the couch waiting for the big unveiling of who the White Ranger is.
I remember VR Troopers. Troopers 3, virtual reality, VR.
So I'm going to go way back. Do you remember Street Sharks? Cartoon.
Huh.
They skateboarded and they were Street Sharks.
Dude, serious?
Yeah, they were awesome. They ruled the world. No, great times growing up here in Washington. We had some extremely intense times here. I had the funnest childhood. That's one thing I can't complain about ever because I had the funnest childhood in the world. At one point, me and Chris created a ninja obstacle course.
That was at the Delta House. And we were not children. You kind of made it sound like we might have been kids in the ninja obstacle course. I was, at least 22. You were probably 19 or 18 or something. We
had a zip line going from your second story balcony to your garage.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
What's worked? I mean, with a little bit of effort, we did ninja training for a week straight, and we're certified ninjas now. And
set up like ladders, ladder course. We had to run across and do some other stuff, and
yeah, something you definitely want to try at home all the time. All the time. Now I'm getting older. I go on a jog and I break my ankle.
Yeah, I have a sprained ankle from end of last summer.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, they're the worst.
It's fine, but I don't really heal all the way anymore. It's 90%.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though is it's not only like the ninja course and all that, but that was also known as the party house. Mm-hmm. In that party house, man, you and G-Dub would have to go to sleep because you guys were doing plumbing, and you guys had your own plumbing company at the time, and so me and Mark Logan would stay out in the garage, have a fire going in the fireplace, and we would get drunk and we would start throwing hatchets at each other. At first, I was a little upset at first. I was like, why the hell are you throwing a hatchet at me, Mark? And we're playing Dio, Holy Diver.
Nice.
And
of course,
yeah.
The best of Dio was just,
I was just
on repeat in the shop.
yes. Oh man, no. See, that was amazing.
That's awesome.
Good times. So, no, we have a lot to really unravel there at the house. There was it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the worst because I'm pretty sure you guys had some buddies that kind of screwed you over on the house.
Yeah, that was a little later on, probably when you were thinking, but picking up too many roommates at the party house probably wasn't the best idea.
I actually lost my my job at you know where.
I remember that. Is that you're doing like installation or something?
It was at a certain mail delivery place.
Okay.
But I was just washing trucks and putting packages in the back. And I was so distraught because at the time, I think I gave you big ups
for losing that job, dude. For real.
Oh, I did my best. Well, my first, I think it was like the first time a real girlfriend had like dumped me. And so what I did was I went to your, I was so devastated. I totally forgot about work. Went to your house, partied, and just turned my phone off because I didn't want to get anyone to get a hold of me. I did that Monday to Friday. And I checked my phone Friday. I had 5 voicemails, one for each day of the week. Now, this boss of mine left me 5 voicemails. One was like, "Hey, I hope you're okay. I didn't see you today." Next one was like Tuesday.
Like angry and
progressively, I mean, pissed. Yeah. He got pissed. Tuesday was like, "Hey, man, still haven't heard from you. Need to know what's going on." Wednesday was, "Hey, you need to check in. This is a little ridiculous. I'm giving you a shot right now to give me a call and let me know what's happening." Thursday was, "If you want to keep your job, you're gonna call me back."
Last chance.
So I called Friday and he said,
like, "Fuck you."
Exactly. I called and I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And he was like, "Where have you been?" And I'm thinking, look, obviously I'm fired at this point, but I'm wondering, do you have my last paycheck?
That's what he wanted to hear.
That is exactly. He said, "Well, no, where have you been?" He actually did me a favor. Ended up doing me a favor. They said, "You know what? And I always thought this was kind of a way of him feeling like powerful and entitled and stuff." Because he said, "I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to let you resign instead of just fire you and send you out the door." Later on, it's like, oh, that made a big difference. That made a huge difference because I was still allowed to use them on the resume.
Okay.
So I mean, that was, and they gave me a good review. So that was.
You were definitely the bad guy in that story, as I said them.
I was a victim of love.
You were very sad.
I was a victim of heartbreak.
I was a victim. I tried to console you, dude. Your shoulder to cry on, and it just wasn't the same.
You were there. I'm going to take a moment just to realize that this was only brewed with high country barley.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and that's why it's so delicious.
I love high country barley. That's like my favorite kind of barley.
Oh, well, in that case, I took you up.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yep. GWH. Okay.
One thing I kind of want to get in the trend of doing is, I know we're totally rookies at this and we're totally new to the whole game. So here's what I kind of want to get in the game of doing, and it's not for any like reason that's outside of the box. It's truly because I don't think I personally would have enough encouragement or inspiration to do this if it wasn't for certain other YouTubers that I'm a pretty big fan of. And one of my favorite YouTubers that I'm going to throw out there, because I watch like all their content and they have 2 channels, which I'm a big fan of, is Donut Operator. Donut Operator, he's an ex-cop. I think he served some time in the Navy. Great guy. Like, just puts out great content. It's wonderful, so you guys should check him out as well. He's really, really cool. That'd be my pick. That'd be my first pick.
Yeah, I don't actually watch that much YouTube.
Oh.
Usually I may watch it a lot at my house, but that's for Blippi and Baby Shark. But I do listen to a lot of podcasts.
You can give a shout out to our podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there's one really good like I just listen to random stuff. And there was one, it was like the Something Prepper podcast, but they were really cool. They made me think about building a pull-out shelves under my bed, and then I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
So was it, wait. So was it like a how-to?
Mm-hmm.
Or
yeah, it was like a husband and wife team.
Nice.
And yeah, it'd be nice. Like next time in the future, the show might be a train wreck every once in a while, but next time, I would have like the real name of the podcast and everything.
I would hope so.
I know.
You were the great white disappointment.
Yeah, you told me beforehand that you were going to do a shout out too.
I did.
Channel.
I did. I have like so many YouTube channels.
You do. Like, I listen to podcasts.
I hardly watch TV. So what I do is I just have YouTube on my phone and I cast it onto my TV, and I'll go through channels and watch like all this YouTube stuff that I
cast it onto your TV.
I enjoy.
I don't appreciate sorcery. I will not stand for it. No sorcerers allowed on this podcast.
It's not a magical cast. It's called. Okay. Well, I don't want to overwhelm you with big words, but it's called Wi-Fi.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it'll hop off of there physically onto the TV spiritually, and then it'll play.
Oh, so it's kind of like possesses the TV.
It's more of a possession.
Takes over.
I'll take a possession. More of a possession. You know, well, and so I'll use that instead of TV, and also, of course, I think Netflix is like the go-to. But do you want to know why? Because TV's gone so downhill.
Yeah.
It's so down. Today, I was even at work today, and there were just people watching Jerry Springer. The funny thing about Jerry Springer, guy has not aged one bit. Since I was like 10 and skipped school to watch what sort of baby mama drama was about to go down. Oh my gosh, he still looks the same. Still looks exactly the same.
Yeah, that was a good show.
But, I skipped school to watch it because, back then you're like, school's worthless. I don't think school's worthless. I like, but I have to say, as I got older, I started thinking more along the lines of, in my opinion, I think college is a bit more of a waste of time.
Yeah.
If you're not if you're going to be a doctor, or
you should figure out what you want to do and go to a trade school or something specialized.
I think so.
Yeah, you go to a 4-year college. You have all the general classes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need at all for what you want to do. You should just
I mean, who's gonna what are you gonna do with gender studies?
Yeah.
just throwing it out there. What are you gonna what kind of a job are you gonna go get with gender studies? You're gonna look at me, I can.
It's all just filler, so you can pay a bunch of money and be in debt when you're done with college. You learn what you need to know, and then 75% of it.
Well, even if you didn't pay, right? Let's pretend you had a GI Bill or you had some sort of way to pay for it, and it was free for you because of whatever reason.
That is GI Bill.
Would you still want to waste it on gender studies?
No.
I mean, no, absolutely not.
Full ride scholarship. If you had a full ride scholarship, other stuff going on. You're good. Might as well go and party for 4 years.
That's actually a pretty good point. If you get a full ride, might as well go party. But I'd imagine that if you had. My thing is I don't think Look, I saw this great podcast where was it a pod? It was not a podcast. I apologize. It was where this guy was answering a certain question, and he was talking about gender studies and the differences between like his and hers and things like that. And so this one lady's like, well, there's hundreds of thousands of people born every year with both male genitalia and female parts.
Really that many?
I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. Maybe she's right, but he says
hermaphrodites were fairly rare.
Well, his point was this, and that would still be fairly rare out of 8 billion people in the world. But his point was this. He goes, "That's great, and even if you are right, they have nothing to do with what I'm talking about." Because he was talking about trannies, and so those are essentially men that think that they're women
or women
that think that they're not men. And so the problem with this is his answer was beautiful. It was great. He said, so you're saying that there's men with fertile sperm and they have a fruitful womb as well. So can they impregnate themselves? No, there's never been a human being like that alive.
Yeah.
Ever. And plus they would fit again into a different category. Not at all even in the section of what he was talking about. I mean, honestly, who cares what you are like that, but it gets confusing, man. And I feel like that's part of the reason why I feel so strongly the way I feel about college, because I feel like it has a left tendency. I'm not saying like, be right or be left or whatever. I don't care. But I'm just saying it tends to, it's not even left leaning, it's just super crazy leaning.
You have to be on one side of the fence, or you're just, discriminated against basically and just shunned by, 90% of the people there.
Or you're a Nazi.
College, as a Nazi. No. Like colleges used to be cool, like bastions of like free thought, that's where you can say whatever you want and like free,
well, that's when
supposed to think.
That's when hardcore liberals actually stood for something.
Yeah.
They actually thought they were fighting for free speech and the right for this and the right for that.
And now somehow you go to college and you're just force fed, one line of thought, and if you don't buy in, then you're just on the outside. You're supposed to be able to discuss things and
have open forum. Have a great open forum about it, and that's one thing that I'm a big fan of. Yeah. Because the reason is you can't if you're not able to discuss things like that, if you start doing that, then all of a sudden you're slowly cutting into people's First Amendment. Mm-hmm. You're slowly cutting into the fact where people are like, hey, you're not allowed to say that, that's offensive and all that. Look, I'm all for like everybody having equal rights. I'm all, obviously. And by the way, nobody's ever accused racism of not being real. It's obviously real, right? I think the accusation is it's not nearly as bad as it was in the 60s. Yeah. Like, I don't think it's ever stopped me from getting a job.
I think it's worse than it was in the 80s, though.
I think it's worse than I think it's bad. I guess what I have a problem with is when people say systematic racism. Because I don't know, like, that. I watched this. I don't, there's some really intense evidence that racism is not a factor, into whether you're getting a job or not. Yeah, who does a great piece on this? Ben Shapiro, Gavin McInnes, they do great pieces on this. Ben Shapiro, he mentions when he was in, I believe, Seattle doing city town hall meeting with some members of the NAACP, and when they said there's a black lady and a black guy, and when they had said, hey, the question was, explain how white families make an average income more than black families, and he said it had everything to do with the environment that they had grown up with, or something along that. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing and I'm getting it wrong. Don't hop on me if I'm getting it wrong. My bad. But the thing is they started laughing at him. He said, you know what? You tell me why black people are shooting each other in record numbers way farther than white people shooting white people. You tell me why black people are going to jail, not for victimless crimes like jaywalking, but for hardcore crimes. Tell me why 13% of the population makes up 50% of the murders. Why their whites graduate at a 3 times bigger rate than blacks do. High school we're talking about. And he said, because what? Because everybody's racist against, he said, against the chief of police who's black, or against the people on the city hall or the city council, which were 9 out of 15 of them were black, and they were all happened to be Democrats, and or against the black president, or against the, you know, and it was almost like, wow, yeah, what are they talking about? Like being racist against? Like, you made it to, and this was under Obama, of course, but so you made it to a certain spot, and I can't really express myself, you know, as articulately as someone like Ben Shapiro or something like that, but the point was driven in my head, and it was a really good one. Second one I was going to say was Gavin McInnes, and his was much more on my level, where he said, he did this skit where he says, you know, it's not like somebody's going to, oh, okay, we're hiring here, and it looks like, you know, oh, look, they're going to save us $600,000 a year. Every year, this is how much money they're going to save us. Okay. Okay. And they have 30 years experience, and oh my! And they're only asking for 150K. I've got this. This guy's hired. Oh wait, his name's Tyrone. Sorry, Tyrone.
Look into this. Yeah.
We're looking more for a Larry. You know, like, I mean, because one color essentially matters in capitalism.
Yeah.
Green.
Anybody can make it now. I think we've gotten to that point. But dude, if you where you start out does matter. I mean, the environment you're raised in, but if anybody can do anything, really.
I think so. But I'm curious as to why you said it's worse now than it was in the 80s.
Identity politics, I think. People trying to create division. I think in the 80s, people were starting to get along more. And since then, certain parties really invested in identity politics and pit people against each other. And when you have the mainstream media, the news, just blasting racial division stuff like all the time, it makes people put them in a worse frame of mind.
You know, I agree with you. And because I was thinking racism does exist. And I think now when you say it like that, it is almost as bad as it is in the 60s, but I think, in my opinion, it's not, it's in a totally different way in what you might think. It's in a way to where it's turning blacks into victims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, or any minority really, like, you know, if you're Mexican, you're a victim. If you're black, you're a victim. If you're this, you're a victim. Which you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. And thank God there's giant movements. And look, I don't really care what political side of the aisle you're on. But one thing is, you know, I was raised never to be a victim. Mm-hmm. Not to be a victim. Like, bad shit happens to all of us.
If somebody's telling you that you're a victim and you need their help to get through life, that's probably not good.
No, man, I don't want to. I don't want anything like that.
No.
But you know who else isn't a victim? The Punisher. And you know what? You know what? He had a hardcore life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, watch your child and your wife get murdered.
Yeah.
So and what do? You turn into the biggest BA of all time.
Mm-hmm. No superpowers, none needed. Just super badass.
I'm convinced. There's nobody who could take out the Punisher.
Yeah.
Convinced. He is the all-time high. Like, he has strategy down. He has the weapons. He has access to what he needs. Mm-hmm. Dude, nobody.
And he's got nothing to lose.
You need to start watching The Punisher, the TV series.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
You have to. I know they said, it starts out slow, but like the first 4 or 5 episodes is really, on the first season, is really just getting it started. You really gotta just dive into it, man. You gotta suck it up.
We dove in. We made it like 4 or 5 episodes.
So you gotta dive in harder, man. Like, it's nothing but action after a while. Like, it's...
That's cool.
You gotta promise me. You gotta promise me you're gonna try it again. You're gonna give it a second try.
Yeah. I might have to do it by myself. You know, we just had twins on a personal note. You already know that, but
I do.
Yeah, I have.
They're awesome.
I don't have a lot of TV time lately, and what I do is
I can imagine.
I usually try to play a video game or something.
On top of 2 other kids.
Yeah, 4 kids.
4 beautiful kids.
Yep. We were gonna draw the line at 3, and got a different plan.
That's actually really, really cool. One of them named after your brother.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that was forgive me. They're about a year old twins.
What?
Am I crazy?
You're crazy.
I'm sorry.
5 months.
5 months.
Yeah.
So I am the worst person with time. 2 things I'm bad at: time and facial recognition. I have literally sat there and looked at the TV before and been like, "Oh, look, it's Nicolas Cage," and you know who it was? It wasn't Nicolas Cage at all. It was John Travolta. In my defense, it was Face Off. but when people say like, oh, like this group of people looks the same, or all this group of people, honestly, I mean, I do mistake like Denzel Washington and Will Smith and Ryan Reynolds and
do you think
like Jack Nicholson?
Yeah. Do you think so you're saying we all look the same? You son of a bitch.
Is that you, Jack? You're supposed to flip a coin and be Jack Nicholson.
Dude, do you think that's like 'cause I think I've heard that might be like a form like a dyslexia thing almost.
I mean,
nothing
I've
bad
never
on
heard
you,
that,
but I've totally heard that before. I don't remember where. But
nothing bad on you, but I hear you might be retarded. That's how I took it. Maybe I do have dyslexia. Maybe that's how I took it.
It's not a bad thing. I think Olivia might have dyslexia. Doesn't mean you're not smart or anything else. It's just something in your head, turns numbers around, and I've heard that some people can have it with faces.
I thought it was where you say things backwards.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's a big umbrella.
And there's a bunch of different, little sub conditions or whatever. I don't know if it's a condition or whatever. I'm not a scientist.
It's possible, man, because I really do have awful facial recognition.
It might be.
I got to meet one of my favorite bands in the whole world. And it was a brief moment where I got to shake Tim Armstrong's hand. And, man, I wouldn't have known that was Tim Armstrong until, like, somebody in the crowd yelled. They were like, "Hey, Tim!" And I'm like, "Oh, my gosh,
where am I right now?
Yes.
This is awesome!"
I lost my head. And I got to shake it. Yeah, I was totally stoked to meet him. And, but, that just goes to show my facial recognition was completely off. It was completely just...
And you'd see everything else like it and everything. It might be something like that. I don't know. I said I'm not a scientist, but
no, you're
I'll
not.
talk science sometimes. New podcast, Talking Science with Chris. Somebody that's never taken a science class after high school.
Every year it would be a perfect antidote on how the Mariners are going to go all the way this time.
Ugh, yeah. It was a good 3 weeks. First 3 weeks of the season.
You would.
Nice. They lost like 9-0 today.
I think that's when you know things are going south. Is when you start bragging on like at least the first 2 months of it. They were okay, I suppose.
Yeah. It's a continual thing, man. That's why the Mariners have the most resilient, strong fan base. For some reason, we're still hanging in there.
You can
it's like next year, we got it next year.
Yeah,
that's our year.
And they keep telling themselves that.
I'm gonna have Melissa make me a shirt that just has the Mariner Trident logo, and it says next year.
Next year, we got this. Yeah. You'd be a good detective on figuring that out, like a 1930s detective. Here's why you didn't win. See, all right. You know what we gotta do? We gotta start getting some cigars for a segment. I think that'd be. What's more manlier than just drinking beer and taking shots of whiskey? Cigars.
With a cigar, yeah.
With a cigar.
We'll just have to make sure Melissa never sees that segment. Okay, well, she's like, "What do you smell like? Success."
They smell like money. Money, Sam. I'll shut up and get back in the kitchen. And then you'd never see him again. That's basically how that would go. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, like you'd be unsolved mysteries.
Yeah. I have to come over to borrow a couple of sugars. I can hop on the podcast for like a minute before I gotta scurry back, tail between my legs.
Oh my gosh, it would be great. No, it would be awesome. One thing that was kind of really cool is how often we really are able to interact with each other, because little did I know when I moved into where I live now.
That was crazy.
Yeah, you had already moved like down the street a few
weeks
before.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, hey man, I'm moving. I think you want to hang out and show me your place. And I'm like, well, I'm moving right now, but you should come see my place. And I gave you my address, and you're like, dude, I live on that street. And so that was really crazy and really cool.
And we'd been like in touch. I mean, maybe talk like every few weeks or something. Maybe longer, but for that to just completely fly under the radar for both of us, we never put that together.
No. Yeah. Another special. I have to understand that I'm not any good at it anymore.
Yeah.
But I remember the training lesson. This is also back. We're going back when we first started. When we were talking about that we are Ninja certified. Also taught me how to chug beer.
Yeah.
We would do race. I don't know what we would bet. I mean, we would bet something.
I don't think we would bet. I thought it was just for valor and glory.
So we're chugging beer. And we're on the second story because that's where the house. You walk in, you go upstairs, and in the kitchen we're chugging beer. We go out to the awesome porch. We feel like Scarface because you're looking over Marysville, and smoke, and somebody gets the hiccups. I'm not gonna say who.
Oh God.
Somebody got him though. Bad
case.
It was him, and it was.
Betrayed my trust.
So he goes, the hiccups, can't get rid of them. I go, just hold your breath until you gag. Because that's what I do. I hold my breath until I go, bleh, and then they're gone. No. He swan dives over the railing of the second story, down to below, where I grab his foot. And I yell for G-Dub. Yes. Yeah. I go, G-Dub, can't hold him. G-Dub goes,
Did you guys hold me up that time?
No. Because G-Dub goes, better hold him. He has work tomorrow. And I let go because I couldn't hold on, and there was a planter about 2 feet off the ground.
You couldn't hold on anymore. Your arms are shaking. You're sure it wasn't just like I've been holding him for a minute and I'm tired of it.
The whole thing was blurry except for this part where you fall, and there's no noise except for. Yeah, exactly. I mean, bam, right on your back, you land on the planter. And I go, Chris, you all right? You don't answer for a second. And I go, Chris, are you all right? And you go, well, hiccups are gone.
Yeah. So
it worked.
If you ever get a really bad case of hiccups, that's you just
swan dive.
Just unblind and your friends that look at you and
you can't really do anything.
Yeah. I guess you can for a second or two.
Well, it was one of those things I wanted you to think. I wanted you to be like, oh, I'm going to be saved. And then it was like School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah. Nice.
School of Hard Knocks. Mother effer, But I got to come up with a catchphrase. Those are, the coolest people have the catchphrases.
Yeah.
I got to come up with a really good catchphrase. School of Hard Knocks, mother effer.
That's pretty good. I don't know.
I feel like it's taken.
Something like, yeah, probably.
It would work better if I was in Tacoma or somewhere in California.
Yeah.
Or if I was Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard knock life.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on from the Hard Knocks, the School of Hard Knocks.
He's ready to rock.
Oh, yeah, always.
The POD reference for the podcast.
Oh, God.
Remember Little Nicky, dude? That POD video on the menu for Little Nicky?
Oh, my gosh.
The school hard knocks, he was ready to rock. And it had like ninjas or angels or something. I don't know.
Then I forgot about Little Nicky.
Little Nicky's a great movie. That movie's awesome.
I forgot about it.
Yeah.
I'm a big Adam Sandler fan.
Oh yeah, you gotta revisit that one because it's just awesome.
Especially when I saw where did I go? Bellingham. Wasn't Adam Sandler, but it was to see Nick Swartzen.
Oh yeah.
It did. Oh my gosh, one of the funniest comedians in the world.
That is funny.
I don't think it gets funnier than Nick Swartzen or Norm Macdonald.
Oh, Norm Macdonald's the best, dude.
I think he's
like my all-time favorite comedian.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, it does not get any better than Norm Macdonald.
He's just so dry and just doesn't give a crap about anything.
He sets it up. He's the perfect comedian. You have comedians that make people laugh, and then you have comedians that make comedians.
He's the comedian's comedian. Yeah,
oh, yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
If you know, he was actually Adam Sandler and Norm Macdonald. They're doing like Adam Sandler's comedy tour with all of his best friends or whatever, like Norm Macdonald, David Spade, a few other people. And they were in Seattle, and I was listening to a show on the radio, and this guy called in. He was like, "Yeah, I went to the show last night, and it was awesome. I smoked weed with the Colonel." It was the year after I think Washington legalized marijuana. Oh, and so Norm Macdonald just came out of like the Moore Theater or something and started smoking weed with people.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
But you heard about it.
Yeah, I just heard about it, but I thought that was
And you didn't tell me about it when you heard about it.
No, I didn't. I kept that.
I'm not sure why you do that. I'm not sure why.
Well, nice play.
Oh. You don't know where this one go. I thought I was the only one. So I'm gonna let it go.
I'm always packing in. Need a belt knife.
Nice. Yeah, dude, I would love to see Norm Macdonald. I would.
Dude, that would be so cool. Yeah.
I would love to go see Norm Macdonald.
That's funny. So, we're on a video podcast right now. Have you seen Norm Macdonald's video podcast? Live with Norm Macdonald?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
His jokes are the best, especially the ones that he throws away. Like David Spade, like retrieved out of the trash can, and he starts reading. Like, no, I mean, just amazing, bro, amazing.
Dude, I haven't laughed like that first episode with the guy Super Dave, right?
Right.
That was the funniest video thing I've ever seen. That was a really good one.
Oh yeah, I was trying to think back to it, dude. That was
that was hilarious.
That was probably the funniest, podcast I've ever stumbled upon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, by far. I don't think there's another comedian. Look, I love comedians. I love good, comedians. Kevin Hart's a good comedian, I think.
The best one's
Cat Williams.
Yeah.
But Norm Macdonald. I don't think anybody really touches that guy.
Greg Giraldo was really good, dude.
Not familiar.
Yeah, it was funny. Oh, serious, dude?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's some funny jokes. There's this one where he reads like a letter sent home to the wife from the Civil War, and then there's one sent home from it was the Iraq War or something, and the Civil War one's like, "Dear Maria, I long to see you again. I have missed you these many days." And it just goes on like that, and then he reads the one from it was like current time where he did that stand-up bit. He's like, "Dear Maria, it's hard to hunt these something with your ball sticking to your leg," and it was hilarious. So good.
It's you know what's funny? It's hilarious. Like you said that, it made me think of my dad. My dad was in Vietnam in the Marines, and in 67 to 68, and when my dad first went to Vietnam, his Dear John letter beat him to Vietnam.
Oh shit! It was waiting there for him.
They laughed.
That is fucked.
They did. Like it was like,
oh shit. Oh man.
Like his Dear John letter beat him to Vietnam, and they thought that was just the funniest.
So you're in the
fucking
shit.
Thing.
Welcome to the jungle, and here's your
Can you imagine? Like what was it, like 18, he said, and jumping out of a helicopter and like 8-foot high elephant grass.
Your dad was a badass, dude.
And just all the stories I used to get from him and stuff like that. That's why I'm really big on like inspiration, man. That's just why, you know, my dad, probably my biggest hero in the world, and then like very, 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 very much so G-Dub as well. I love, you know, like one of my obviously best friends in the world. Like, and you know, man, why I love Gentleman Jack.
Yeah. Yeah,
he gave me a
pint. He was a big proponent of Gentleman Jack.
He gave me a pint of Gentleman Jack. I wasn't drinking at the time. I took a 5-year hiatus from drinking. And I had that little pint of Gentleman Jack. I will not drink anything else now but Gentleman. That's not true. It's not true. But mainly my main go-to drink is Gentleman Jack.
Nice.
Like I drink more liquor than beer, but like not as lately though. Not as lately. I've been trimming the pounds.
Nice.
Got my way.
Yeah.
So.
You look good, dude.
I appreciate it. I've been working out.
I appreciate you looking good.
Well, I haven't really been working out. I gotta be honest. I just like cut out. I did the math, and it was something crazy. I was in booze. It was like an extra 5,430 calories a week.
You don't even think of liquor having like calories in it.
It was about. I believe when I looked it up, it said it was about 65 calories per shot, and there's around 22 shots.
Then you add like a chaser or something.
If you have a soda,
yeah.
Gentleman Jack doesn't need a chaser.
Smooth,
but if you know, it's kind of like I'm not a bourbon guy. I'm much more of a sour mash guy. Like I can drink Jack Daniels. I can chug Jack Daniels.
Tennessee whiskey, dude. Yeah, awesome.
I love that Tennessee whiskey. Jameson. I drink so much Jameson that I haven't touched it for years because it made me so sick.
Oh really?
Oh dude, yeah. I still kind of gag thinking of it. But Gentleman Jack is even, I was going to say even smoother than Jack Daniels, but Jack Daniels is not smooth. But it's super smooth. But the one bourbon I did drink that was really, really, really good was Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
It was not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I can't, like the Jim Beam thing, I can't do it. I'll admit it right up front. That's what we're all about. We're all about this drinking thing and this like, this living life thing and raising kid thing.
Yeah, just keeping it real.
Beautiful family. This man has a beautiful family, and it's just a shame that he's going to be kicked out of his house soon.
Yeah. I'm getting kicked from my house.
I didn't mean to spill the beans.
What are you holding out at me?
No, it's but what would be your drink of choice?
I can live in here when I get kicked out, right?
Yeah. You're gonna sneak in here and make podcast updates. Like it's 2:05. I have to get up in 3 hours.
I'm just gonna ruin the podcast channel.
Foxtrot. This is no, man. What is your favorite drink?
Dude, I don't drink that much booze. When I do, I mean, it's Jack Daniels, it's whiskey.
Oh, okay.
I'm a whiskey guy. I just like Southern Comfort a lot.
I was gonna say, I remember it used to be Southern Comfort.
That's like a caramel liqueur or something now.
Oh, man. I remember when I was like 13 and I thought I was just the coolest person in the world. And because everyone I hung out with was over 21. And now that I think back about it, it's like, what are you guys doing hanging out with me? Not you. But,
and I had to because you're my 2 years younger brother's friend.
Yes. Yes. And I was like, I remember telling someone, I was like, yeah.
Forced upon me.
Get me a fifth of Kahlua. Oh, yeah. And they brought it back and I drank it all. I puked all night. It's like a giant candy beer.
That's nasty. Yeah.
It was the grossest thing in the whole world. Remember that?
Dude, if you don't know any better, I mean.
There's a video. I think the YouTuber's name is Catfish Cooley.
Yeah, dude, you showed us a video of that guy.
It was Whiskey Wednesdays, and dude, like chugs a fifth of Fireball in like 30 seconds. Less than 30 seconds.
You showed me, like ran up to a stump, did like a backflip or something.
Yeah.
It's like this big fat, like white trash guy. He was like, woo! I'm sorry. Cooley. I like your videos, bro.
Dude, I'd love to have a beer with that guy.
Yeah, for real.
Or a drink.
He'd probably make us chug a fifth of Fireball, but...
Dude, I'd be out. It'd be lights out. Podcast over.
Yeah. I'd still be up and moving around. I wouldn't remember anything.
No. If you say Fireball, like, dude, so I went to Arizona recently, and recently as in like 8 months ago, I think, and we went out to all these clubs and stuff. There's $35,000 spent in a short amount of time, and yeah, it was somewhere around that. It was stupid, and everybody was drinking like vodka and Red Bull.
Oh boy.
And then everybody was like, no, we gotta throw in the Fireball. And I tasted Fireball for the first time, and I was like, this is like the devil's asshole.
Yeah.
And it was. And it tasted,
it's a whiskey that tastes like a candy.
I feel like I get a cavity every shot I take in that shit.
It's not even a good cavity, dude. You like the Red Bull and you suck on it for a while, it's all cinnamony, and then, then it turns white. You can't bite through it.
It turns white. Yeah, it's
nasty.
No, it's gross. I never was a big fan. Never have been a big fan. Never will be a big fan. We can't do the Fireball.
No.
We cannot do the Fireball.
Yeah. I've done it before to try it. It was wildly popular, and I was like, let's see what this is all about. I didn't know it was Fireball because it tasted like Fireball candies. If I knew it tasted like candy, I wouldn't have bothered.
It would have been kind of, I mean, it'd been more of a crazy, I don't know, it'd been more of an experience if somebody would have been like, here's what you expect from it, here's what you get from it. I know a lot of people that make, a lot of things off of Fireball. I just can't do it. We're from the really hillbilly redneck part of this. We have a mutual friend who, was once upon a time in the woods of Cedro, who made his own moonshine, and like that's up our alley more.
I'd say we're right on the border between super Seattle and then just the sticks.
I couldn't live in Seattle. Seattle's becoming the modern day San Francisco.
Yeah,
it is. Mm-hmm. It's worse.
Portland, Seattle, San Francisco.
If you drove there, now they have like these. What are they called? They're like safe shooting zones.
I don't know if they have them yet, but they're trying.
They do.
Do they?
But here's the thing: is there's nothing safe about shooting up heroin. Yeah. I don't know that I have to say that.
You shouldn't have to.
For people to realize, oh yeah, that might kill me. Watch an episode of Live PD. Like every other episode's about them having like narco on them and trying to like wake somebody up that overdosed. Like, don't take heroin. It's just stupid.
I don't get the policies that they're trying to put in place in Seattle. It's just a big just free for all zone now. I mean, they don't prosecute any minor possession of anything.
Well, there's a really cool documentary out that was done by Cairo News, maybe or I forget who did it. It was a long time ago, and they got a lot of flack for it. But it was a really well put together documentary around Seattle. It's called Seattle is Dying, and it was outstandingly, ridiculously accurate. And
I heard about that,
dude. It's amazing. It was really amazing. It's about they gave these anonymous surveys to these cops, and not one Seattle police officer had one thing positive to say about their job. They were fearful of losing their job. They couldn't police awful areas like they wanted to. There was just a lot of things that they couldn't they weren't able to do that they were hinged upon doing.
Yeah, I don't know. And they caught a lot of flack for doing that. I didn't watch it, but they got a lot of flack for doing that series. And I mean, it's obvious. I mean, if anybody that's lived here for a while, I mean, Seattle's like not the same as it used to be.
No.
It's terrible now.
No. And you know what's even scarier is Everett's becoming like Seattle. And everybody's coming more north and more north. So we're having a retreat.
We're not going to stay at them.
We're having a retreat. But there were so many good points made in that, and it was almost like, well, how in the world can somebody... It's almost like saying, hey, this is safe for smoking crack in this area. You can have, now, correct me if you know better, or look this up and in the comments, write a message if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the law in Seattle is you can have up to 3 grams. Like,
as long as you don't have the intent to distribute.
3 grams, for those of you who don't, it's enough for like 30 uses.
I'm nodding like I know, but it sounds about right.
No, it's like meth, of meth, and that's considered personal use. That's like getting pulled over with a couple cases of whiskey. Yeah. And being like, oh, well, he's obviously just going to consume it himself. Even a case of whiskey, he's obviously just going to consume it himself. Like, I mean, good God, we could be like Lemmy, Motorhead. Mm-hmm. Lemmy. He
rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Lemmy. He used to show up, and when he was backstage, he would hand out fifths of Jack Daniels as if they were beers. and didn't even die from any sort of failure of liver.
No, that's a weird cancer. No.
Was it colon cancer? I think it was colon cancer.
I can't remember. It might have been.
Yeah.
I really liked video games, arcade games and stuff. I heard he's going to spend his last few days playing video games.
Dude, see? What a better way. Well, there is a better way to go.
Yeah. I was going to say,
what is a better way than not to go on? And then it's like, oh, well, you're going to just leave.
When you think about it.
We're just not knowing a stray bullet, just it's over. But this is our first podcast. Yeah. This is our first podcast, and we just wanted to hit you with everything, touch on a little bit of every subject.
Kind of our idea. We're just going to be just BSing about whatever we're thinking about at the time, or maybe we could take suggestions if there's a topic. I don't know.
I'd love to take suggestions. Also, I'd love to get eventually down the road more involved with a fan base where we can interact with them and answer certain questions that aren't like, hey, guess what? You're a dumb, stupid head. Mm-hmm. Because I wouldn't do that. I'd say, nah, and that would be my comeback. So, thanks. Nah, I have education and that stuff. So, nice. Yeah, true that. But I think not bad. But this is kind of the theme of the things that we're going for because we have so much energy and so much things to get out there that we just want to just be able to share it with you guys, and we want to be able to really just interact without any limits. Yep. How does WWE? How do they? No holds barred.
Yeah, no holds barred.
No holds barred.
Great movie.
So we spent most of the time coming up with a name. So here we are in the trenches with Chris and Chris.
Yes.
And no topic is off limits. No topic is taboo. And we're going to talk about everything.
We're just going to drink beer and bullshit.
Pretty much. I mean, and that's really what it should be. I mean, you have amazing podcasts out there that are for specific reasons. But in a way, like I love. I'm not a big fan, a big respecter though of Joe Rogan. I really love his podcast. I really love how he conducts his, there'll be interviews with just random people, and there'll be different subjects, it's, every other one is probably about drugs, but,
everybody, had, Elon Musk on, everybody's got to, smoke some weed when they go on the show. That's, the deal or something.
Is that it?
I think so.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
let us know in the comments if that's a thing.
Yeah, he's smoking a joint, and I've seen 3 Joe Rogan podcasts, and they get stoned on every single one of them.
I'm not a big Elon Musk guy.
Yeah, I don't.
No, if I had a Tesla, I'd sell it. Yeah. And then the person I sold it to, I'd slash their tires.
You'd sell it and just buy 2 normal cars.
I'd just take it out. I wouldn't even sell it.
Yeah.
I'd sell it. I'd take the money and I'd crush it. Tesla.
Yeah, I don't know. That guy's doing stuff. I don't care.
And that's our thing is we really wanted to get started and at least put this first one out there. At least make it about an hour long or so, and tickle your fancy. Let us know how we did. Let us know how we suck. Or let us know what we did right.
Don't let us know if we suck.
No, I mean,
keep that shit to yourself.
All right. It's called constructive criticism.
In big words, it makes sense to me.
I'm just saying it's constructive. I have to criticize it.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. This is Chris.
And Chris.
And thanks for joining us in the trenches.